Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope you had a great weekend. And here we are on Monday in Lagos, southwest of the country where we're broadcasting from. It is raining. I don't know, geography has changed, but it is raining. Anyhow, there's a lot of work to be done. And you're all aware that Governor Nyesom Wike on Friday held a media chat in which, far-reaching positions were at least engaged with. Well, our guest this morning, he's a presidential campaign spokesman of the PDP, our friend Charles Aniagwu. A fine morning to you, Charles.
Good morning, my very wonderful elder brother. It's nice to meet you again.
Indeed. Great to have you with us. Well, how are things standing now within the PDP? Because a lot has been read since your important top-ranking member, Governor Nyesom Wike, held a media chat on Friday, and it does look as if PDP is not going to be going into the elections with a unified front.
Well, starting from where you stopped in the course of your question, PDP will go into that election with a unified front. So it's not true that they are not going to be unified. Why most Nigerians tend to be surprised, particularly with respect to what's happening in our party, is because over the years, democracy is hardly at play. It's either the leaders just take a decision and everybody follows, or you rein in everybody. But what we're doing is to allow the wheels of democracy to grind and grind very gradually and softly, allowing plurality of views, which is the main ingredient of any democratic setting. Individuals having their views, individuals being able to ventilate their grievances, and the leaders listening and taking action slowly, and at the same time explaining as to what needed to be done. What you see as a disagreement is, of course, not from the prism from which many are viewing it. On the issues raised by our very respected leader, Nyesom Wike, and many others, we are almost on the same page as to the need to trigger some form of equity and fairness, like he rightly put it. But where we have a little disagreement, which we are dealing with, is the issue of the timeline. The presidential candidate of the party doesn't have any challenge with the issue of having to restructure the party, particularly given the fact that a candidate has emerged from the north. But don't forget, he's a candidate, not a president at the moment. And in the next 5 months, we hope by the grace of God, he will eventually win to become the president of this country, to be sworn on May 29. And by that time, you have a proper balancing that you are dealing with. But beyond that, we believe that the timeline we have now is a challenge to begin to trigger some of the offset that any movement from the north to the south could possibly trigger, and then leave the party much more wounded than it has suffered at the moment. But for this week, we are quite excited that the week from that we are supposed to kickstart the campaign have come. And in the next 48 hours, we will begin to tell Nigerians what our candidates stand for, what our party will bring into bear, how we are going to rescue our country. And in doing so, be rest assured, my very good brother Yuri, that we will respect the democratic rights of every other Nigerian to aspire, to desire, and to want to also take actions that indeed speaks to the need for us to address the many challenges confronting our country today. And we will set the example. We will let people know that in a democracy, plurality of views is one thing that makes it tick. Where the majority, yes, will certainly have their way, but the minorities will allow to have their say. In our party, we are going beyond our minority having their say, but to be respected even in the midst of the issues, no matter how thorny, no matter how discomforting they are. So it's democracy at play in the PDP, and we thank God that our leaders respect that much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Charles. But the truth to be said, maybe the way I should ask the question is, you yourself being a spokesperson for the presidential campaign, I don't imagine that you would have particularly liked the way the governor decided to express himself, because he was quite scathing of the party. And he did put in the minds of the electorate, perhaps, that, look, if the PDP, the main opposition party, is not able to get its own house in order, as Governor Wike was saying, if it's not able to follow its own constitution, how can anybody take them seriously and vote them to, run with the Constitution of the Federal Republic and do the right thing if in this small one, this is what is going on? As you know, Governor Wike had alleged betrayal, and he's making a demand that is, I think, is quite difficult from the point of view of the PDP. He wants the chairman to resign. The chairman has said he's not resigning. The neck of PDP has voted in confidence, and I've been reading of recent that some northern elders and traditional rulers are beginning to say that, you know what, we're all going to camp, as it were, next to Atiku. This is not exactly the way you wanted your support. It's just that, is it accurate to say that you're trying to make a best of a bad situation in the PDP right now?
Well, in terms of support, I can tell that the support for Atiku Abubakar and Governor Kowa, his running mate, cuts across the systems of the Federation and the FCT. It's not something that is lopsided. It's a united front that we're pushing together. But you did ask if indeed we would have loved the manner in which our respected leader has expressed his views. In a democracy, you do not just gag the individuals and define how they should be able to express their views. It is true that we have internal mechanisms through which we handle some of these issues. Those mechanisms are being triggered. We are quite comfortable that in the course of time, everybody will come to acknowledge that there are processes within a particular political party, particularly when the issues is internal in nature. Now, you also mentioned the respect for the constitution of the PDP. I can tell you that the PDP constitution has not been violated in any form or manner. I would have been glad if my colleagues in the media decide to just take a look at the provisions of the constitution of the PDP.
Okay.
And you discover that nobody in the course of this dispensation have offended the provision of the constitution of the PDP. The PDP constitution in chapter 2 did provide that there will be principle of zoning in the party. Mm-hmm. And that zoning means the offices that you occupy that is going to rotate between the north and the south. And what is the office in issue at the moment? The office of the chairman of the party. The last chairman of the party came from the south, particularly the person of Uche Secondus. And then when the party now went into election, the party now decided that it was time to go back to the north, which paved the way for Iyocha Ayu to emerge. Elected, not nominated, not appointed. Now you are talking about a different issue entirely, which is the position of the presidential candidate of the party. And the last president, if you check your record of the party on the platform of the country on the platform of the party, also came from the south. And that is the person of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. So if you are doing rotation, even when you view from the prism of the last president, he came from the south. And so it was time to also to move to the north. If you now decide to also look at the chairman, the last chairman also came from the south. The only reason why there seems to be element of a fact as to what some persons are agitating is that for us not to have a lopsided party or structure or sharing of power base in the party, that the president and the chairman of the party cannot be from one side. That is not in any way speaking to the issue of the constitution of the party. That is largely speaking to the issue of morality. Now, coming to look at that, the presidential candidate is still a presidential candidate. That is not an office. The election have not taken place. I am very much happy that my elder brother Yuri was very much around in 2006, where the PDP had sway. You recall that time our very respected elder statesman and the then President Olusegun Obasanjo was the president of the country. At that time, the national chairman of the party was the person of Amadou Ali from Kogi State. Eventually, the party went into an election, and in the primary, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory from Katsina State emerged. Having emerged, at that same time, the chairman of the party was also from the north, the same region where he came from. The party had to organize the election first, where Umaru Musa Yar'Adua now won election as the president of the country, and thereafter, it paved the way for the party to now do some form of tinkering of the positioning, which now paved the way for Vincent Obulafo from the south to now emerge. What we are saying at the moment is the issue of timeline, which is just a period of about 5 months or at most 6 months. That let us deal with the big elephant in the house. And that big elephant is to win the election. And having won the election, we can now begin to proceed to reposition the country. It is much more important to us to rescue our country for where we are at the moment than the issue of the internal affairs of the party, which of course, yes, we have to also deal with in the course of time. So there is not much challenge as to whether the constitution of the party have been violated. If anybody says there is no adherence to the provision of the PDP constitution as amended in 2017, let that person show that section of the constitution that have been violated, and then let us debate it. And it is on this note that I challenge my colleagues in the media to go and take a look at the provisions of the PDP constitution, and then we'll be able to understand what the issues are. Now you may want to ask, what is bringing about the issue of timeline? Why don't us engage in political expediency as is being canvassed in certain quarters? The reason why we are not comfortable with any political expediency at the moment is because of the possible ripple effect that may arise therefrom. Because we have 5 months, so like I said, we have a bigger elephant. Let us deal with it before we now come back to begin to deal with the other much more minor issues in the party. And why the timeline? Like I said, the constitution of the party goes beyond the issue of are you resigning? If the demand were to be the resignation of the national chairman, I can bet you that would have been long forgone, because resign as a chairman is not so much as an issue. The real issue is the desire to move the position of the chairman from the north to the south. And because by the constitution of the party and the arrangement of the party national working committee, there is a hierarchical order that speaks to certain positions aligning with certain other positions. And if you allow me in less than 1 minute, I will explain what I mean.
Sure, please.
The national chairman of the PDP usually comes from the same region where the deputy number 1, in this case, deputy chairman North, comes from. The reason for that arrangement is that in the event that the national chairman resigns, the person to take over is the deputy national chairman from the same region.
That's right.
And if you take away you will now need to take away that deputy national chairman for you to be able to now not to offend the constitution. But in the event that you are able to even evolve a political expediency that you...
Oh, okay. It froze for a while there, but I'm sure it's going to loosen up again. We're having this chat with Charles Aniagwu, People's Democratic Party presidential campaign spokesman, and he's commenting on the media chat held by the respected senior member, Governor Wike, on Friday last week, where, quite frankly, a lot of troubling to the PDP things might have been said, including, I think the conclusion is that Governor Wike and his group will not be supporting the presidential candidate of the PDP, which, quite frankly, it would be a disaster. It doesn't look good. But, okay, I hear, okay, you're back. Charles, you're back. So would you like to continue, please? Okay. Charles, can you hear me yet? I'm not too surprised with the weather. It's interesting. That's why I even stated what the weather is in Lagos. I don't know what the weather is where you're at, but oftentimes it does do that. And by the way, as we're waiting to be able to connect back with Charles Aniagwu, I'm so happy to have Charles of the PDP with us. There are other political parties representatives that we have, invited, but they've not been able to come. In particular, Labour Party. We'd like to speak with people from all the other, parties. We extend the invitation to them, but they have so far been declining. But we thank very much the PDP spokesperson for indeed honoring the invitation and making himself available for these comments. In the meantime, Reverend Dominic has come in on the line. Good morning to you, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori. God bless you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and I'm sure I will hear you better as we go along. But yes, I can barely make you out. Please continue.
Okay. The Commissioner of Information in Delta State is not being fair. Let me correct him one bit.
Okay.
When he was referring at the time of Olusegun Obasanjo as the president, and the man who is a chairman from the north, then in PDP, that time the sitting president is from the south. Now they are going to election before Umaru Yar'Adua emerged as presidential candidate. So the sitting president is in the south. You can't compare it as a presidential candidate. Number two, if the young man said they have not violated their constitution, it is black and white in PDP. You know who is talking here. We are part of this process in the beginning. It is in black and white in PDP that this time, that the presidential candidate must come from the south, whether it's southeast or southwest or south-south. But because they don't have a sitting president, they went to Benno and constituted a committee which Otom headed. And that committee had a problem. Otom said that, okay, all the elected officers of PDP have come to the north in agreed. The presidential candidate is supposed to come to the south. Because they don't have a presidential candidate, they bring this upside-down law that let it throw the presidential candidate open. And Wike worked hard. And he worked and worked. Maybe he didn't win election. But what I'm trying to say, now they have won election, the presidential candidate is from the north. The chairman of party cannot be from the north. It's a simple mathematics. Let it go back to his constitution. The constitution did not say the presidential candidate will come from the north. The chairman will come from the north. In the old political party in Nigeria, when one set of candidates come from the other side, another set of candidates will go to the other side. It's in black and white in PDP constitution. What is that man saying in Delta State? I knew him very well when he was AIT. He can't speak about PDP more than me. It is not true. Now they have presidential candidates in the north. Yes, the chairman of the party must come from the south. And it's not easy to alter that constitution. So you should not deceive us here. I'm not a fan of Wike, but Wike is standing on that ground that all the elected candidates of a party cannot come from one part of the nation. It's a simple mathematics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. And Charles, I wonder if you're back up with us, technically that is. But you just heard Reverend Dominic there, one of the numerous viewers watching this and looking for some commentary. You were explaining an aha. Charles, I can see your picture. I wonder if you're able to hear us and if you heard Reverend Dominic's commentary.
I didn't hear much of what he said, but I think the last thing I heard there was individuals coming from one part of the country. I thought that was the reason I heard. I wouldn't know what
by and large, summarizing what he had said was that he feels that you are being economical with the truth, as we say, in the way you're analyzing this whole matter, that it's not possible for the presidential candidate and the chairman of the party to come from one reason, and it is well known, it is cast in stone, and he feels that rationalizing it, is sort of sacrificing truth.
Well, if that is what he said...
Please continue. Please go ahead, Charles. I can hear you. Charles, why did you stop speaking? Because we were hearing you perfectly. But you maybe, I don't know. Okay, Promise from Owerri. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How is it going?
Thank you very much for calling in. It's good.
Yes, just like you said, my name is Promise Abaso. I'm calling from Owerri, Imo State. I think what Governor Wike is saying is simply the truth. Because when you take a closer look at their PDP constitution, you will agree with me that the man is in order, So for the party to move forward, I think they should bury their differences and adhere to what Governor of Rivers State, Wike, is saying. Because this is a very critical time when you look at the campaign starting Wednesday this week, that's 28th of September. Mm-hmm. It's very glaring that they bury their differences and they have one mind. Swallow their pride and say, look, nobody is bigger than this party. Nobody is more PDP than other. Let us come to a round table and say, I will resign. Because the purpose of everything is for them to win election. Of what profit will it be of PDP to return you and at the end of the day they lose election? You understand? So they should look beyond this and do the needful. We can know what he's fighting for. He has committed much in the party. He was there when people left, when some big leaders left, when the time was so bad, and now this is what he's asking for. It's not just for his primordial sentiment or because he wants to be parochial, or just because he wants equity and fairness, which can be justified at this stage. So that is what he's asking for. So let them follow up and make sure that peace reigns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Promise. Okay, back to you, Charles. I wonder, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard.
Oh, okay.
Quite well.
Oh, okay.
I need my my wonderful brothers who have shown a whole lot of interest in development of the party, and I respect them for that, to take a look at both the laws governing the party and the possibility of achieving what they are asking for. This equity, nobody is against it. Nobody is against it at all, not even Atiku, nor are you. But we are saying because of what it may lead us to. For instance, have they been able to tell us what will happen to the national secretary of the party, who is from the South at the moment? By the time you are able to bring the chairman to the South, have you decided how you are going to also take the national secretary to the North? Have you decided how you are going to now bring the organizing secretary from the North to the South? All those things have arrangements that we must follow. The question is, can we achieve it within the same period that we are preparing for an election? Nobody is saying Wike does not have a truth in what he's saying. But that this truth, if you begin to follow it the way it is now, it will be injurious to the party. And that secondly, this truth is not grounded in our law. The man was elected. And I asked them, let them answer. What happened in 2006 when Ahmadu Ali was the chairman and Yar'Adua from the North won? Did we ask Ahmadu Ali to immediately resign? We must be able to look at precedents. And so when even Goodluck Jonathan became the president and the chairman of the party, Vincent Obolafo, was from the South, did they immediately ask him to leave, or until we now started preparing for another election? So when they talk about these issues, they should first of all leave out the sentiments and then look at the facts of the matter. If eventually, by the grace of God, in the next 6 months, we're able to form a government, and that way, you have a government. Okay, now let us assume, without conceding, that God forbid that Atiku loses, and you have taken away the chairmanship from the North. A chairman that just left the South, you take it away from the North. We did not now begin to ask, please give us back what belongs to us. So it's important that when we speak, even as Southerners or as Northerners, that we must put Nigeria on the table, not under the table.
Okay.
In any case.
One moment, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, Charles. Charles, a caller has come in. Mohammed has been waiting for a while. He wants to contribute from Abuja. Good morning, Mohammed.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Good morning for your guest.
Thank you.
Yeah, my only question, what will happen if they got to campaign now and they have not settled with Wike? What will happen? Let's ask you again, please, what will happen? Because Wike, whether they like it or not, whether PDP like it or not, when PDP was disarray, when PDP was not a party, it's Wike that single-handedly paid the salaries of staff of the PDP in the Wadata house. He's the one that maintained the office when nobody was there. And now he's saying that it's just a simple question, it's a simple request. Though we in APC, we want them to continue with that problem so that we have a bigger edge on them. Because our own party is clear. They have the focus, they have the mandate to deliver Nigeria with Tinubu on saddle. We have somebody that can take Nigeria to the next level, not the other next level. This one is a new next level, what we're saying. Tinubu is the one to take Nigeria to the next level that everybody is clamoring for. So we want them to continue, and let him clarify too. We saw it on the social media that Tinubu and Wike, they are in London having meetings. How can you say about that? Thank you, and have a nice day.
Okay, Mohammed. Thank you very much. As to the latter part of your question, okay, maybe Charles will answer it, but if you look at the press reports, they say it's just a coincidence. They say it's just a coincidence, but go ahead, Charles.
Election. Yes, if the response and comments clearly shows that PDP is a party to beat. he's praying for PDP to have problems so that they can come up, because they know that without challenging the PDP, they won't go anywhere. And I'm happy that he's dissociating the party from even their present record. He said not the other next level, there is another next level. And you know, those kind of things, I don't want to go into what's happening in their party. Of course, you know the issue of the challenges of even the Presidential Campaign Council and what's happening. But that's not our challenge. Our challenge is to be able to rescue the country. I have made it very clear that we're going to stay with the issues. He has said in the event that the Wiki is not going to be part of the Presidential Council like they have indicated. I must tell him that it's not only the Presidential Council that will be involved in the campaign.
Yeah, but Governor Wike,
so that will even work far more than do.
One moment, Charles. Governor Wike and his people,
yes,
you know, you probably will understand that better than most. Will not be supporting the presidential candidate of the APC. Now, I don't know if that also means we'll be working against him, but you know, let me just stop at the first juncture, which is that we'll not be able to support the presidential candidate of the PDP. That surely would be something of a catastrophe, wouldn't it? But in the meantime, before you answer, let me bring in Yakub, who has been waiting for a while, so he can mop up both issues. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And good morning to the gentleman on the other side.
Charles Aniagwu.
Yes, he's someone that I know from AIT and all that. I'm not surprised he spoke the way he spoke now. I'm very sure he's chairman in the governor of the Delta State. He was spokesman for that particular governor that is now a vice president of the PDP, as case may be. But I was saying that, Chiviori, let's put the question to Aniagwu. Number one, the question is this: are you mention that if eventually the candidate of the party come from the north, he will surely resign or not? That is number one. Number two, did Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of PDP, really told Governor Wike that you must go or not? That is it. But to be saying this, Chiviori, as a sympathizer of the APC, as the last caller rightly says, let them continue. And then believing that do away with Wike, they will still get it. I think they should continue that aspect. And then let's say this, and then put it on the record. The Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then side by side with the other candidates. When the campaign starts, let's campaign based on issue. Let's see who have a track record. Some people on the other side, especially the PDP candidate, I'm very sure he has never, I repeat, he has never held executive position in this country, rather than being a vice president to General Olusegun Obasanjo as at that time. See, Chief Wike, Governor Wike, hold this party. Aniagwu cannot disclaim that. He holds the party when the party disarray. He spent the money and all that, make sure that the party is still the way they are today. Now, as a party chairman, Aniagwu, please clarify this. The party chairman says if the president comes from the north, he will resign. Now, the question is now this: why is he not resign?
Okay. Let's put the question to Charles. Charles has heard. Thank you very much. But Charles, also, I wanted you to relate to. I wanted you to also address. You know, there was another call. I wanted you to address before all of that. Look, how catastrophic you think it will be if Governor Nyesom Wike is not, as has been threatened, supporting the PDP presidential candidate. That's the news we're hearing, that Wike and his people will not be supporting the president. How big a deal do you think that is?
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you, Charles. I can hear you.
Okay, now there are a lot of issues that have been raised here. But let me start from the last caller who said whether Ayu said he was going to resign when the candidate emerged. Yes, he said he was going to resign when the candidate emerged, but he did not tell that immediately the candidate emerges that he will resign. That's one. Secondly, I covered the National Assembly for more than a decade. When you make a law and you send that law to the president to assent to, that is to append his signature, and at that point you discover that that particular law will offend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you usually send it back to the National Assembly, even where you have 469 members, and in addition to the different public hearings, to correct the error if any of such happen. Now, thirdly, when individuals are saying Ayu said he's going to resign, did Ayu also promise that he was going to take the chairmanship from the north to the south? People must understand what the issue is. The issue is not the resignation of Ayu. The issue is the movement of the chairman from the north to the south. Nobody made that promise.
Okay. You know what, Charles? I'm going to come back for you to continue to elaborate on this, but I've got to take a break now. Luckily, you know what that's all about. It's almost sacrosanct. So stay with us, please, Charles, and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we are having this conversation with Charles Aniagwu, a colleague in the media, but he's since moved over to the other side, as often they will. Charles Aniagwu is the Commissioner for Information in Delta State, and you know, we've been looking at the media chat of Governor Nyesom Wike. A very important man to PDP, it has been said. People have even mentioned it. He kept the party afloat and all of that. But there are those who are saying that, is he not overdoing it? Well, that's indeed their right to say. But Governor Wike seems to be staying on the point of morality, equity, justice, and all of that. And our guest, Charles, who I'm happy to see that Charles is back, Charles has even said that nobody is doubting that all of those things are important, but it seems that, as Charles put it, there are other considerations, and you don't want to do anything that will cripple the party. Did I get that part of it right, Charles? Paraphrasing you.
We are very, very correct. We are saying the only point of disagreement is the timeline. We are even happy that those in the APC recognize that we have shining stars in the PDP and that Wike is one of the shining stars.
Indeed.
There are those who want what happens in their political party to happen in PDP. And what is that thing? Where one individual just seizes the party and owns the party. The PDP is called People's Democratic Party. It's made up of so many leaders. Yes, Wike has played very, very critical role as a member of that party.
Okay.
Ditto a number of other leaders. And when you play a role in PDP, that doesn't make you to become the owner of the party. Wike is only pointing out issues, and the leaders of the party are examining those issues. So when those outside are saying because he has done A, B, C, in which case anything he demands must go outside the presence of democratic consideration, that is not how the PDP works, if that is what works in other political party.
Okay.
The leaders are respecting the views of Wike. They are considering his views. They are looking at it within the provisions of the PDP constitution. And at the end of the day, what will enable the party to win the election? You did ask, if Wike is not part of it, how are we going to feel it? Wike is part of it. He did not tell you he's not part of it. He has made it very clear.
No, he said he's not leaving the party. He said he's not leaving the party. But what is in doubt now is whether he will support the party's candidate.
The moment he's not leaving the party, if you know Wike, you know that he's a political bulldozer. He has said he has crippled APC in Rivers. What that means is that Wike will work for the PDP in Rivers.
Okay.
The reason why we are also pleading with him is that we want him to use his energy beyond Rivers to assist us in all those smaller states. In terms of when I mean smaller, where we don't have a greater stake, either because we are not in charge.
Now, so Charles, I beg your pardon. I've got to interrupt you because I've kept a viewer waiting all this while. Please listen to his contribution. Mr. Joshua in Irewolide, thank you very much for holding on. Go ahead now, please.
Okay, Yori, good morning. Thank you very much. And I greet Charles too.
Yes.
I'm just hoping that 2023 will throw up surprises beyond the issues we're discussing now.
Okay.
My take is that for the first time, I want us to have a need to put Nigeria first. I know that presently the political structures is still that you must produce a candidate through your party. But I'm looking at a situation where our politicians will be compelled to put Nigeria first. Whether it is Wike, Atiku, and all this, I'm not impressed or surprised by whatever crisis they're having in PDP. Crisis is part of political party, whatever. They are only using these things to position themselves, to negotiate for their own maybe interest. Because at the end of the day, it's about what role Wike will play, what role Ayu will play. Ayu has settled himself using Wike. Wike wants to settle himself. So these are all personal interests. But I am hoping, I'm telling your guests, I'm hoping that they will have crisis enough that will make them to put Nigeria on the table instead of individuals, instead of personalities. We're tired of Wike is so powerful, that one is powerful. We want a powerful Nigeria.
Okay.
Not,
all right.
A powerful individual as it were.
Indeed, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, and once again for holding on all that while. Charles, there's a sense in which you've alluded to this, but go ahead and say it again, that shouldn't Nigeria, the integrity of Nigeria, PDP, People's Democratic Party, based on democracy, that is why Wike is, crying to the high heavens that this is anything but democracy going on in the PDP.
Like I advised you, one of your callers earlier, that we must take away the sentiments and face the facts of the matter. And you must be able to look at the actions of the party, look at the laws of the party, look at what the party have done in the past and what it's doing at the moment. Democracy is a system that allows majority to be able to take.
Okay, I guess this weather, with the weather that I described, this is to be expected. We've lost Charles again momentarily, but I'm sure we'll get him back. Meanwhile, Mazi Okoroafo has called in. Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Good morning, Sayori. Good morning again on both candidates. Sayori, what we lack today in some of these our contestants is what we call emotional integrity. Now, research work have shown that what many Nigerian politicians, some of them, what they do is they only join political party based on what? Power and money, not to give the dividends of democracy to the people. That's we talk about that Jagaba should have to do it very fast and take over by 2023. Now, you ask yourself, why are people that like to shift goalposts when they know that very well that what they are doing is wrong? Right from the word they say, president, before you talk about Christian Muslim listener. Now, where are we heading to? That is why I used to tell Nigeria that by when they say now, campaign will start. Nigerian students are talking their own version, so nobody knows the reality. Court is talking about their own, about that. Now, political party like what the people are treating at, if they have a formula, if they have things they have planned for the Nigerians as they said, they have to do what? Do the needful. If they say, my friend, go, what's wrong? If you know you are not there because of power and money, what do you step aside and watch? But if you see that I must, as if, look, nobody has the monopoly of anything in any political party. But some people feel that they have monopoly, that what I've said it must happen like that. It's not politics. Now look at what's happening in Italy now. You see how a lady, I don't know what the coalition for that is moving. Now, have you seen them fighting?
Okay, Amazio Okoroafo, thank you very much for calling in, and welcome back, Charles. I guess I might have to be saying that welcome back as soon as you come back again, but we're glad to have you back again. People are making heavy weather out of the perceived wrongdoings of the party against the backdrop of its own rules. Its own rules. This is not wrongdoing from, a parochial point of view.
What part of the rule? What part of the rule?
Well, principally, as we've said before, even though you've challenged Show Me the Part, breaching your own constitution, where what seems to be now cannot be by the constitution. But you've said that people who are saying that probably haven't read the constitution. Yeah. Okay.
See, the parties are governed by their rules, their constitution. Anybody who is telling you that the PDP has offended its constitution, let the person tell you what particular section of the constitution that have been offended. I am telling you that first, at the point that Ayu was elected as the national chairman of the PDP, it was a southern chairman that was leaving office, and then eventually he now became. There are individuals who are making mistakes, mixing a whole lot of things up, joining the APC constitution to the PDP constitution. There are those who believe that after all, Buhari is from the north. Why should another northerner become the president? They forget that Buhari is in APC, he's not in PDP. He became a candidate on the platform of the APC. He became a president on the platform of the APC. The PDP has its own constitution and rules. So those who are saying, how do you move from a northern president to another northern president? They are forgetting that the Nigerian constitution is not enshrined for us to say president from the north and president from the south. It is in the political party. And if you go into the PDP constitution, the last president on the platform of the PDP was the person of Goodluck Jonathan from the south. And PDP had power for 16 years. For that 16 years, the southern part had power for 13 and a half years. The north having only 2.5 years under the late Yar'Adua of blessed memory. So where is this equity that the people are talking about and that there is an offense? Now, when you come back to the chairmanship of the party, the last chairman of the party, Uche Secondus, came from the south. The only reason why the point is being made now is that for the purpose of balance of power, not on the basis of the offending the constitution, but at the moment, the presidential candidate does not have power. He's not occupying an office for you to say you are balancing any power. In the event, God forbid, that he loses the election, which are you going to be balancing power from his bedroom?
Okay, one moment, Charles. One moment, please, Charles. Let's listen to Francis, who has called in from Francis called in from Asaba, but we lost it. I suppose it's no use raking over old coals, but the mere fact that the committee that was set up by, the PDP itself to advise your candidate, as I said, it's a bit of old coals raking over them. The fact that, the presidential candidate decided against following their advice is one of the remote causes, possibly, of the crisis the PDP finds itself in.
Those are some of the narratives that are not true, and I can tell that to you straight away. Apart from the fact that the constitution empowers the presidential candidate to be the one to nominate his running mate, he decided that he needed to hear from multiple persons for the purpose of having an inclusive process. It was not just one committee. There was a committee set up by the party. That's the one you are referring to. But beyond this committee, the presidential candidate also interfaced with a whole lot of Nigerians, including past leaders, for the purpose of taking a look at a number of issues to arrive at his decision. And even in the committee you are talking about, the instruction was, please go and get me 3 names from where I will choose. Just like what happens when ministerial nominees are nominated. A number of times, 3 persons come from a state. It is the prerogative of the president to choose 1 out of the 3. In this case, 3 names were submitted. Go and ask anybody. The name of Odom Emmanuel, the name of Governor Kowa, and the name of Yeson Wike. 3 respected leaders and governors, performing governors in the South and of the PDP. And at that point, once you give 3 names, what then exists is that there will be a choice. Are you also going to tie the hand of the presidential candidate as to what choice he's going to make? So the presidential candidate was given that latitude since 3 names were brought to him, and then he made his choice based on certain considerations. So why will individuals begin to say that there was a committee and the committee voted, whether even if the committee voted, which was not, of course, part of the instruction, the fact is that as a committee, did they submit 3 names to Atiku Abubakar? And if you are submitting 3 names, it does that not to show that.
Okay, in the meantime, Sylvester has called in from Asaba. Good morning, Sylvester.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Oh, watching what's going on. But
Sylvester.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. You got to speak up, please.
Thank you so much. I'm here watching from home. Then I also want to say good morning to Mr. Charles Can you hear me?
Well, we can hear you, but you can help us a bit more. You're not very animated,
can you hear me
sir.
now?
Please continue. Oh, dear. Okay, I was wondering. I think we've lost Sylvester calling in from Asaba, but it was a bit subdued, a bit low. Even as you asked if we were hearing you, yes, we were barely hearing you, but you know, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the pipes, I don't know. But our guest, Charles Aniagwu, People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Spokesman, no doubt one of them, I imagine there'll be quite a number, but if I'm wrong, forgive me, you might be the sole presidential campaign spokesman. And we're looking at what matters arising from, if you want, you know, well, it's the way to probably state it is the media chat of Governor Wike, in which far-reaching statements were made, among which were that, well, first of all, there were all sorts of things that Governor Wike's spokespeople had to come out and correct. For instance, this whole matter about Tinubu offered him a senatorial seat, a senatorial ticket. You know, his spokespeople said, no, nothing like that happened. I never mentioned Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's name once and all of that. But, you know, there will always be all of these things that will be coming in. So we're just looking at matters arising. Is the goose of the PDP cooked now that such a big fish, as we say locally in Nigeria, is at odds with his party? But so far, Charles has been saying not necessarily so. As soon as we can get Charles back, he'll say it for himself. But it's like Nigerians. Okay, I see Charles is back. Charles, would you like to take over from here? Not yet? Okay, we understand it. It's the weather. So Charles is back. We got the video, so we'll be doing things piecemeal almost. As soon as we get the audio, Charles will just butt in. Charles, as soon as you can, please butt in. We really do want to hear from you. And we're particularly appreciative that you came on and spoke with us because our experience has been that when we call other political parties, their representatives to speak, for some reason or the other, they don't take up the invitations. And we really are a bit depressed at this. We'd like to hear, for instance, from, Labour, as well as all the other parties, but they haven't been able to. So thank you very much, PDP. For answering the call. What is in the works now that this state of affairs, is what we have, and what in 2 days' time? In 2 days' time, they're going to be lifting, the veil, so to speak, and people can begin to, campaign openly. Chooks in Ikotun has called in. Good morning, Chooks.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. Please, I want to go straight to the issue. I just have 2 questions for Charles.
Okay.
Number one, Charles should tell us the reason why the principal Atiku Abubakar left the PDP in 2014 and to the APC, because they were agitating that Goodluck Jonathan was not supposed to contest as a Satana is son of the North. He left. In 2019, Charles should tell us what was the reason why only the Northerners contested the 2019 primary in PDP and no Southerners contested against them. Let him explain that to us. Let him stop coming on air to tell us lies about what he's saying. It's not good.
Okay.
These 2 questions I put to him.
Well, thank you very much for calling in. If you disagree with what Mr. Charles Aniagwu is saying, it's one thing, but to go out fully and call him a liar, it's not very usual that we get that on the program. But, Charles, it comes with the territory. I'm sure you know yourself. If you heard that, okay, Charles still isn't here back with us yet. But he's been with us from the beginning, and Charles doesn't seem to think that there's very much cause for concern if you look at the entirety of the conversation. There have been people calling in, trying to, as it were, box him into a moral corner, but he doesn't see any justification for it. He also has said, while he was still able to speak to us directly, that perhaps some people are mixing up issues. And certainly, perhaps they are mixing up constitutions, was the allegation that Charles had offered, that, you know, it's different in one party from another. So those are the kind of issues Charles was, you know, wrestling with. But he also did say that, you know, just assuming but not conceding that even if Atiku Abubakar were not to win the election, it still doesn't mean that Governor Wike would get his way. But I suppose the big issue is that how important is losing the support of Governor Wike? He has quite a strong, broad shoulder to put to the wheel. I would imagine a lot of people think of the campaign that the contest that is coming up. That is what Charles can speak, but I think Charles is saying that no one man is bigger than the party. I want to thank Charles for being able to, for coming on the program this morning, even though we had our technical challenges. Perhaps he's listening to this. Charles, I was just, we've run out of time, in and out because of, to leave this, is the presidential campaign of the PDP still on course? Let me end it there with the bombshell, so to speak, that Nyesom Wike has dropped on Friday.
Behaving the way he's behaving, where that is on a lighter note. But addressing the issues raised by one of your callers who said the candidate left the party in 2014, and they must be able to balance the issues. The South at that time had had the presidency for upward of 13 years at that time. And when you compare it to what is not needed, it became an issue of imbalance. That is not the same thing with the issue of the chairmanship of the party. They are two different things entirely. So they must be able to put oranges and oranges and then put apples with apples, not to bring orange and then begin to ask between orange and apple, which one is smoother.
Okay.
So the challenge is that they are not able to put all the issues together. And secondly, Atiku and Ayu are not opposed to a movement of chairman back to the South. But that you must first of all finish this process so that you don't destroy everything. Everybody elected on the party came through election. They were not appointed.
Okay,
so
we've got to leave it there, Charles. I'm afraid we have to leave it there, Charles. But I want to thank you profusely, as I said again.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Really appreciate you. And again, I can't say it enough. We do extend these invitations to all the other political parties, and we would be really appreciative if they would accept those invitations, so that the viewers, can hear what the matters are and not be depending on rumors and all of that. That brings the program to an end today. Our guest was Charles Aniagwu, PDP Presidential Campaign Spokesman, and please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.